Hello, Joseph. Shall we start?
I'm ready.
Okay. Good afternoon, all. I welcome you all to the second session of day 2 of the 6 days AICT sponsored STTP on paradigm shift in assessment and evaluation practices for engineering graduates. Today we have Sri Jo S. Karia to present on the topic Communication Skills and Teamwork, the Road to the Top. Dear participants, this is an interactive session. You can ask questions in between or you can post it in the Zoom chat box. Okay. Now, on this occasion, it is my great privilege and honor to introduce our resource person, Sri Jo S. Karia, Assistant Professor in the Department of Humanities, served as the Senior Assistant Editor of the Economic Times in Chennai. He was a media professional for over 3 decades, beginning with the Indian Express in Kochi as a sub-editor. He was also part of Murphy India Limited, RP Gunka Group, the Mumbai-based professional food services magazine group Magna Publishing Co. Limited, Mumbai, and the Times Group. He has been a speaker at various forums, including events of the Confederation of Indian Industry and the Public Relations Council of India. He is currently doing consultancy and training for a range of institutions and corporates. He is also a YouTuber with the title Job Metric View. I wholeheartedly welcome you, sir, to address the participants. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Miss. It's a pleasure being here as part of the STTP, the AICTE sponsored program. Especially so because the interaction is with teachers who are people who decide the destiny of any nation, because in their hands are the most treasured resources of any country, meaning children and youth and adolescents and everybody who's young. In that sense, teachers really decide where a country heads in the next 5-10 years, and that goes on constantly. Happy to be with you. And at the beginning, let me tell you that we can try to be as interactive as possible, because I shouldn't be taking a class on or giving a talk on communication and advising that communication should be two-way and then being one-way myself. So as far as possible, we'll try to be two-way. Technology permitting, we have some restrictions. If we were all face-to-face, it could have been so seamless, but we have small hindrances with the technology that we are using. So everybody cannot be unmuted at the same time. So even considering that, we'll try to be as interactive as we go along. I have two challenges at the moment. One, I'm giving a post-lunch session. After lunch, it's very difficult to keep people awake. And number two, the digital hurdles that are coming in the way. But I hope to overcome both. I hope you are awake at the start, and I'll keep you awake through this session. Thank you very much. Let me also start by bringing to your attention something that is very, very connected to what we are discussing at the moment: communication skills and the way to the top. Such an irony that I'm talking to you from Kottayam district, which has just witnessed a few hours back something very close and connected to communication, which is the suicide of a youth because his father told him not to use the mobile phone for too long in the night. This happened in Kottayam district early this morning. This man who was 28 years old was talking on the mobile phone at 2 a.m. His father went and apparently took the phone from him, saying, "You can't be talking so long on the phone." And this young man was working with, I guess he's got an engineering background, because he was working with a company which is into electronics and engineering. He went out and he committed suicide. This happened about 10 hours back or less. The irony is, it is all about communication. This youth who's 28, so he's not a kid, he was apparently communicating all the time, hours into the night, and he goes to work in the morning. So all night he's communicating, and we can guess that he should be communicating at his workplace also with teammates, colleagues. Probably there was no communication at home, or there was a communication gap between him and his parents. So see the irony, a man who's talking all the time is not having the communication skills enough to have that connectivity to his own family members, but he can connect to either one person in the night or some friends in the night. So see that irony and that gap, and what a lack of communication skills in the right sense. Talking 24 hours is not communication skill. You have to be talking in a skilled way. That is the whole difference between continuous communication and effective communication. So we are all talking about outcome-based education. And if the outcome after talking for so long is suicide, then that whole purpose is lost. And it just proves that whoever that person, very unhappy incident, of course, was not skilled enough in using the communication skills. It was not used in the proper manner where it mattered. With that, let me take you to the first slide of a PPT. Don't worry, I'm not going to keep you on a PPT for long, because that's not the way you speak to people. And I wouldn't want anybody to speak to me with 100% PPTs. So I'll just use it as a walking stick only. And whenever you have a doubt, a question, please feel free to use the chat box, and we'll use that as we go along. So my topic is communication. And of course, I'll touch on teamwork also in the later half of the talk. Communication in the time of Corona. We all know that we have been virtually disabled from face-to-face communication in these days, and we are all the poorer for it. But this is what the virus has done to us, and we are confined to our homes. Our education institutions are bereft of students. All the joy, happiness, playgrounds, everything is abandoned or suspended for the time being. So let's look at communication in the time of Corona, and of course beyond it, and the skills in communication and teamwork that we need to reach the top. So if you look at some of our country's problems, we have three big C's: corruption, creaky infrastructure, and communication. Corruption, nobody needs to tell any of us. It has spread like it was always there. Every country has to struggle with it. But in our case, it has become so large, it is of cancerous proportions. That is what sets us apart. And then we have creaky infrastructure, which is preventing our march forward in industry, services, in everything. In Kerala, if you're living here, right now we are all seeing visuals of the Palarivattam Bridge, the flyover. And this kind of infrastructure goes everywhere across the country. We had a bridge falling in Karnataka just when an MLA was inspecting it. We had a bridge falling in Bihar before its inauguration. And we see potholed roads everywhere. So creaky infrastructure is a problem, has been a problem. And number three, the third C, communication, which is what this 2-hour session is all about. Are we not good at communication? Well, like that youth who committed suicide, we are talking all the time. In fact, people say Malayalam is one of the most difficult languages in the world to master, because of the speed, the number of words we use. But even though we are using so many words and we seem to be constantly talking, we don't seem to be as skilled in that communication, because the proof of the pudding is in the eating, and we are not getting the right outcomes, or so it seems, which is why engineering colleges have now introduced, only about 6-7 years ago, a thrust on communication and life skills. So we have taken that first step of acknowledging that there is a problem. Just like in corruption and infrastructure, we also have a communication problem has been acknowledged. That's a great first step to take. And now we need to move forward. In fact, we have, if you look at math and science students, we have some of the best resources in the country. To get into an Indian IIT, about 1 million people write the exam and only a few thousand get into it. So, and these few who get in are easily among the best in the whole world. Now, what holds them back from being really successful? Perhaps, as we see that, their lack or deficiency in communication. So I've tied up 3 fingers to indicate the 3 problems India is facing: corruption, creaky infrastructure, and communication. Dale Carnegie, you all know, best known for his book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. He says 90% of all management problems are caused by miscommunication. Look at that. If you're running a company, an organization, even a family like the Kottayam family I mentioned at the beginning, 90% of all problems are caused by miscommunication. Just shows how much we need to focus on this area of communicating. One problem with communication is that people often complain that I'm communicating a lot of things, but I don't get the right feedback or the right response or even the right understanding of my audience. If that is the case, then there must be something wrong in the way we communicate. Because if you communicate something in an interesting way, then that is easily understood, absorbed, and it'll have a very positive response, and it is even enjoyed. Like listening to a good class, any class by any teacher should be an enjoyable experience rather than some information just being passed down. So right now, a lot of education institutions, schools, colleges are sending a lot of communication to parents. It can be about the study schedules, the work hours, the assignments, whether their children have not submitted assignments. It can be about the payment of fees. It can be about when they are likely to open, about the fee structure being changed, or why they are still charging for the bus, even though school buses are not running. All of that. But look at it from the parent side, who's the recipient of the communication. The working parents of these children, they are already loaded with information in their mailboxes from their office, connected to their office work, from colleagues, from outsiders, even from personal mail, all of that. So more communication from the children's school or college simply adds to that pile. So if that is not interesting enough, then few would even look at that mailbox. It is simply considered as spam. So how do we, the skill is in making things interesting. For example, words. To start at the very beginning, as they say, if you're going to be a good communicator, we first need to appreciate that words are living things. Words are really living things. They are like people. The more you get to know them, the more you like them. Like when we go to a classroom for the first time, we have, say, 40 in the class or 60 in the class. We do not know the other 59. But in a week, 2 weeks, a month, we come to understand each one. And then we like some people more, some a little less, some we may not like. words are just like that. We may find some words really difficult or weird, but if we come to know them closely, we'll understand that they have a life just like people, just like living beings. Let me just introduce you to one word. Canon. You've heard the word canon. If you understand the origin, then you'll be able to appreciate it more. Actually, canon, C-A-N-U-N, is a reed that grows in Syria, in the marshy lands of Syria. Syria, of course, is a desert country, but this grows where there's water. It goes straight up without a bend, like the arecanut trees in Kerala. It goes just straight up, canon. So the word, when it's applied to law, for example, Christianity has the canon law, C-A-N-O-N, canon law, which comes from Latin. That name is derived from the Syrian reed. And in Hindi, we have Kanun, the Hindi for law. Urdu has the same word, Kanun. And we have cannon firing in the military. A cannon ball goes straight. So something without a bend, which goes straight, is what canon is. And once you know that it is all from that straightness of the reed in Syria, then we appreciate it more in whatever area we find it, whether it's pertaining to the law, whether it's pertaining to the church law, whether it's pertaining to military, or whether it's pertaining to pure biology like that reed is, or botany like the reed is. How do we make something like this interesting? It's all about how we present something. If this teacher is going to be talking to the 3 children you see sitting on the floor in a classroom, just imagine she's talking about animals. Now, children at this age would have seen an elephant, a tiger, a crocodile, so many other animals. But what if she's talking about them in a very different way? She might ask them, which one do you like more, an elephant or a tiger? And what is the first impression? The first impression is elephant is a lazy, nice, rotund animal. It's herbivorous, eats only grass and leaves. Consider the tiger. Ferocious is the word that comes to mind immediately. It is meat eating. It preys on all kinds of animals. It instills a lot of fear. The line, tiger, tiger, burning bright in the forests of the night. All of that comes to mind. But put it in a different way and say that, well, the tiger may be ferocious. It can eat up a whole deer. It can carry a deer up a tree and then sit there on a branch and relish the meat. But do you know this about the tiger? That the tiger only has one wife all its life. Consider the elephant. It has numerous girlfriends and numerous wives. So which one do you like now? So put extra information, look at things from a different angle, spice things up. That's the way to make communication interesting, memorable. The students then don't have to learn anything by heart if that is interesting enough to them. Which is why we may not remember many things that we study in school, many of the theories, but we remember stories. If they are put in such a memorably interesting way, and stories just do that, parables, then we never forget it. One long-lasting example in all our lives about how a story can be so memorable is the example of Alice in Wonderland. You and I have learned it in school. Today's children are learning it in school. That story is now about 160 years old. It must have taken about 60 years to spread around the world. But in the last 100 years, one can be quite sure that whichever child born in any part of the globe, in whatever language they went through education, would have heard of that, would have studied the Alice in Wonderland story. What is so interesting about it? Because of sheer creativity, such imagination about going forwards in time, backwards in time, a rabbit with a stopwatch, all of that. It is so interesting even 160 years after it was written. And guess what? That story was made by a school teacher who taught, many would think English. No, not English or geography or botany or biology, but a teacher who taught mathematics. Well, a mathematics teacher can, unlike what we think of them, can be so imaginative, so creative, and write a story so interesting that it lasts now almost 2 centuries. And I'm quite sure even the next generation would study Alice in Wonderland. Now they're seeing it in an animated fashion. There's so much frills being added to the original story, but that story has remained purely for the brilliant communication embedded in it. Food. Yeah. Let's talk about, say, a classroom where we're discussing food. How do we make it topical? How do we make it relevant? These are what today's youth students in classes are looking forward to. They don't just want information from somewhere, from some book, even from the net, but they want that to be connected to real life in some way so that it has relevance. Let's talk about food. Well, we have so many different kinds of cuisine in different parts of the country. It is so wide-ranging that within a state, say within Kerala, we can see the cuisine changing every 50, 100 kilometers. You travel the 650 kilometers of Kerala, north to south, south to north, we'd find hardly 50 kilometers without a change in the taste of a particular, say, fish curry. It keeps on changing every 50, 100 kilometers. And if you've not noticed, this is also the reason why India does not have a national curry powder brand. There are a few, but they're not hugely successful because the taste varies so much between areas, regions, states, even distances as short as 100 kilometers. So we cannot have one flavor that suits the whole country. And therefore, we do not have, say, one chicken curry masala that goes for all of India. And talking about food like that will get you the attention of your audience. Look at it this way: if you want to capture the attention of somebody who's into GK and about news today and things like that, talk about Chinese food. We're all so used to it for so long. From the last 2-3 weeks, if you look at China and food and India, what comes to mind immediately? We have thrown out TikTok, the Chinese mobile app. Can we throw out Chinese cuisine? Will any prime minister think of saying, now from next week or today evening, nobody should eat any Chinese food? China is our enemy. They are at our gates. So let's stop eating Chinese food? No, because this is so much part, not just of our cuisine, it's been part of our culture. So we're not going to do that. So any aspect can be made interesting by by looking at it from different angles and giving all kinds of interesting anecdotes, interesting tips, interesting aspects about that particular topic. Make people interesting. How do we know our Prime Minister? One flavor that has been added is that he had to struggle in his early life. Now, we don't forget that. Once you hear that, then there's an emotional connect to that person. So we hear that he has come up from a tea boy to the PMO, the Prime Minister's office. Then a lot of youth are enthused to know that. And that is an aspirational story. So we know that, then you like that person even more. I don't know how many of you know this about former US President Barack Obama. His full name is Barack Hussein Obama. There are about 7.5 billion people on earth. And I think he's absolutely unique among all people on earth because Barack is a Jewish name. That's a name that appears in the Bible many times. Hussein is a Muslim name. His father is a Muslim. Obama is a tribal Kenyan name. He comes from Kenya. His ancestry is from Kenya. His mother is an American Christian. His father is a Kenyan Muslim. So this man, and Obama is a practicing Christian. So if you look at this one individual, he's a Jew, he's a Muslim, he's a Christian, he's a tribal, all combined. I doubt if there would be anybody with this kind of blending of religions, of a tribe, of all kinds of experiences from Africa to America, and then being president of the most powerful nation on earth. History, considered one of the most boring topics, subjects for many, but need not be so, need not be so. Just look at one bit of history. There's this young man who comes from South Africa, lands in Bombay, now Mumbai, around 1915, and then tells his countrymen, well, we are struggling for independence. We are fighting against the largest empire on earth, the British Empire, but we can do that through non-violence. Most people laugh at him, but he does that in less than 30 years, in just about 30 years. Interestingly, he gets the most powerful empire on earth to leave this country without firing a bullet, without firing a bullet. So that's how Mahatma Gandhi has endeared himself to us. I'll go off the screen for a while. It's the half-hour mark. And if there are any questions, as of now, I'll take that also.
Dear participants, you can ask questions. You can use the raise hand option, or you can post it in the chat box.
Yeah, if no questions have come so far, I'll proceed. I'll proceed with another slide. We should be discussing the communication context for leaders, meaning the students in our classrooms of the 21st century. One big difference here is the teachers who are teaching them lived in a different era. And they are the students they handle are what we call the new gen. By the way, to the question, who lived in the past is something that we all need to appreciate. The answer is Nobody lived in the past. Everybody lived in their present only. So whoever is living now is living the present. Nobody lives in the past. We look back to the days gone by and talk of those people who are no more as people who lived in the past. Technically, that's wrong because they didn't live in the past. It's just that after their present, we came along and we call them the past. Just like we call ourselves the present. But people who come after us will call us the past. But the point is, we've come from two different generations. The teacher and the student are actually from two eras. One who had the character ethic, and now we have the students who are in the personality ethic. Now, what's the difference? We need to appreciate this difference because that's how we are able to understand our students better. In the pre-World War II era, meaning before 1948, we had the character ethic, and that of course continued for a long time. So most of the teachers of today still have remnants of that character ethic. And so we were told to have virtues like integrity, humility, fidelity, temperance, courage, justice, patience, industry, that you should work hard and you should be industrious. Also simplicity. Look at that, industry and simplicity. Industry, we must work and earn our bread by the sweat of our brows. Today, we call the new generation having a very cushy life. Everything is taken care of by the parents. You see parents actually carrying school bags of children. You see students going to school by air-conditioned buses. The classrooms are air-conditioned. So that whole generation that's into their adolescence and youth today are called the Entitlement Generation. They feel they are entitled to everything. A 13-year-old boy can walk into a classroom and ask, why is this class not air-conditioned? Why are we still using a blackboard and chalk? Why am I asked to wear shoes? Why can't I come in my bathroom chappals? Why do I have to comb my hair? And all kinds of such questions. She would want an air-conditioned bus to drop her home, or a chauffeur-driven car. All kinds of entitlements are expected because that's how they've been brought up, many of them. Of course, there is the other side who are even deprived of education. Simplicity. Now, there was a time when almost nobody came to school by car, but times have changed. Cars have become cheaper, more affordable. But that's just one example. Now, those are expected. Every student feels that they're entitled to be dropped by car, to be dropped in front of their homes. Don't tell me about simplicity because I'm now in class 7 and all my classmates have an iPhone. So I too need an iPhone. Then there were virtues like modesty, but those have changed. The era has changed. Unless we understand how this has changed from the character ethic and the personality ethic, then we probably are frustrated when we see students expecting something else from us. So after this era came the youth of today who are rooted in the personality ethic. They are focused on themselves, the persona that they are. So they are concerned about their public image and skills and techniques that lubricate human interaction. They all are so concerned about their public image that they keep updating their social media photographs, status pictures every now and then. You take them on a holiday, what do they do all the time? They're taking pictures and posting it for everybody to see. I, me, myself. That seems to be the call of today's generation. Look at me, look at me, look at me, look at the new shirt I'm wearing, look at the bike I'm sitting on, look at my home, look at the dog, my dog. I'm giving my dog a bath, and I want 5,000 of you to see that. Unfortunately, of course, not everybody is looking, because everybody else is also concerned about their public image, and they are posting visuals, and there's no time for everybody to see everybody else's posts. So they're there all on the net, whether we like them or not. So unless we understand the difference between the character ethic of the times gone by and the personality ethic of today, we may not be able to appreciate the young audiences in our classes today. And if we are not able to appreciate the audience, then it's very difficult to communicate a message, because understanding your audience is basic to any communication. If I were talking just now to a class of LKG students, I wouldn't be using this language. I would be saying something else. And I wouldn't be coming with a PPT like this with words written, because they won't be able to read. So it is so key to understand who we are addressing before we even start communicating. So all of us need to appreciate why the previous generation, which was rooted in character ethic, is so different from the personality-centric youth of today. And also appreciate that both the senior generation and the junior generation and generations before us and the generations that come after us will all live in the present only. Nobody lives in the past. We all live in the present. And we think we are the greatest because we are the present. We tend to think of people before us as the past, but they also lived in the present. The change, of course, is how the focus on character has become diluted and the focus on personality has increased. I'm open to questions anytime. If there's any, you can use the chat box.
We have a question from Bichu. The question
Okay.
is, as a leader, how can we communicate effectively to people who are stubborn?
To people who are stubborn?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good question. Thank you, Mr. Biju, for asking this. Stubbornness itself shows that I'm assuming that this person is in your team and you find that person stubborn. That means you've been in touch with him over a period of time, if he's your team member. That stubbornness itself means that there is a communication problem between the two. Because what the leader is wanting or meaning to communicate to the other person has not happened. So, the other person is not willing to take any communication from the leader, because that other person feels the leader is not acting in his best interests, in the other person, the stubborn person's best interests. Let me give you this example. A young boy, who's in class 3, 4, tells his father, Dad, I want a bike. I want a cycle, a bicycle. Dad says, you're only in class 2. I'll give it to you when you're in class 4. And the boy is frustrated. The reason, because the leader, in this case the father, is not understanding the time aspect in that young boy's life. Somebody who's in class 2 is only 7 years old. Asking him to wait till he's 9 is 2 more years. He has only lived 7 years. For him, 2 out of 7 is almost like 1/3 of his life. That's like asking a 30-year-old man to wait 10 years. So that boy may turn stubborn because he's not being understood by his dad. So most often, stubbornness comes when the two people involved in that discussion or a relation is not understanding the other one fully. The leader may be saying something and the follower or the subordinate may be understanding something else. They're not able to bridge that gap. And only better communication and open communication can solve it, because if there is any way to get through anything, it is communication. Communication can break the hard rocks that are our minds, and it can get through, it can crack any rock. No communication is not going to get us anywhere. Look at the bigger example of India and China today. Both feel that we are both being unjust at the border. We are saying that China is intruding. China is saying we are intruding. So what have we done? We've blocked some Chinese goods. We've even blocked an app. Now, they'll also do some things. We'll have trade barriers coming up. In fact, we do not get any more cheap mobile phones and laptops in our shops now, because Chinese imports have been stopped or they're being delayed. So is that going to get us anywhere? We are both being stubborn. Now, how can we solve this? There's only one way, only one good way. The bad way is, of course, to go to war. When we fail in communication, that's the way out. If we succeed in communication, we can keep on talking about it. So stubbornness, we are both stubborn at the moment. Unlike what Mr. Biju asked, in your example, it was one side being stubborn. Now, here we have two sides being stubborn, and we're showing our powers. So 2 weeks ago, we said, now the Rafales have come. So that's a message from us. So you behave yourself. Now, China will show us something else and say, you behave yourself. So both being rigid and stubborn in our respective stance will take us nowhere. What is the ideal solution? Communication. No wonder we say that the most powerful countries in the world today are the ones who can communicate the best. When a nation communicates, we talk about the foreign service, we think about the foreign service professionals. So if you're in the IFS, they become ambassadors of India to all nations, and they communicate to all those nations and try to build relationships with nations around the world. If you've heard this, US may be the most powerful country in the world, but do you know who has the most powerful passport in the world? It's a small nation called Singapore. Singapore's smaller than Pala in Kottayam district, but it has the most powerful passport in the world. Why? Because it has got the best foreign service, the most powerful, and they're communicating with everybody. The US, I think, comes some 4th or 5th in terms of passport power. And of course, we come very, very low. So these are all the fruits of communication. If you can put your ideas across and win the other person, then you are a successful communicator. If you're talking about outcome-based education, if you are able to get students in our class, the young and adolescents in our classrooms, to be great communicators, open to other ideas, to be listening to others, we should have no stubborn person anywhere. Because the only way to address stubbornness is through communication. I hope I've answered it in different aspects, Mr. Biju.
So we have a point from Dr. Mani.
Please.
That is the other way, the stubborn person may not like the leader. Your views on that, sir?
Well, we call that we have as human beings, we take to some people very easily. We don't like some people sometimes for no reason. Right now, we are all witnessing the campaign going on in the US elections. Now, hardly any of us may personally know Donald Trump or Joe Biden. But in our minds, some people dislike Biden, some people dislike Trump. Some love Biden, some love Trump. Why? We call this in communication, it's called the halo effect and the horn effect. Some people, we just like seeing the picture or just seeing them face to face. And so in our mind, some kind of halo is formed. Like the halo is, normally we draw it around the heads of saints. And if you don't like somebody, then a horn appears, whenever that person comes to mind, we have an imaginary horn around that person. So he's like the devil with two horns. So if you don't like Trump, then he has two horns whenever we think of him. If we love him, then there's a halo around him. So that is very human. But like I said, how do we get over that? Get over that dislike is to know that person better. Why does he behave like the way he does? You know his background, and then you probably will turn around and love him. Because people act the way they do because of what they have come through. So we cannot compare somebody who's achieved, say, an IIT admission, who's had it great all his life, with somebody who hardly had any education in his early years and then still reached that same prestigious institution through hard work, overcoming so many hurdles. Dr. Mani, I hope I've answered.
We have another question from Yelena Thomas. The question is effective communication about talking convincingly or coming straight to the point?
Well, I would say not exactly either of the two. Because if you're talking about convincing somebody, you can convince something completely fraudulent and win a person and cheat him. So that's not effective communication, because convincing should be about the right things. Imagine I'm convincing somebody to invest in some fraudulent deposit scheme, or I'm convincing him that if you study in say Serbia for medicine, he has a great future. But actually, I'm getting a commission for that fees, from out of that fees. So that's as far as convincing goes, I have succeeded. But what am I doing it for? For something which is very fraudulent. So it's not just about convincing, but convincing with the right intentions. If you add that, then that's correct. And also coming straight to the point. Yes, it's very valid these days to come straight to the point, because we have what I'd call infobesity these days. We have too much of information. Most people on earth today begin their days by deleting social media messages and spam mails. We have spent so much time because people are just sending us messages which we don't want. They're just sharing everything. And, you know, hardly any of us would want all of that. And we can't handle all of that. So it is always good to be straight to the point. Yet, though that's a good thing to do these days, coming straight to the point, whenever we need to be flowery, then it is never to the point. For example, a movie is saying a small thing in 3 hours. It's enjoyable, it's flowery, it is never to the point. In fact, some movies, at the end of it, it leaves you wondering what the director meant. We can have an argument over it, a discussion, a debate over it. So there are points in convincing, in coming straight to the point. Both are parts of communication and objectives of communication, but they are not 100% the objective of communication. Ms. Yelena, I hope I've answered.
Yes, sir. We have another question from Dilish. The question is, how can I analyze the effectiveness of my communication? Any tools available?
Well, that's, I do not know if there is a digital tool which can tell us how well we are communicating, the pauses between. There are indeed some software that lets you practice and then see where we are. You know, that's all about the flow and how easy you are with words, how you're able to speak, your body language and all that. There are software which will, you know, you're photographed and your video will show you your weaknesses and your strengths. But besides that, if you're talking to real people in an audience, if you are a team leader, then the proof will actually come from the feedback that you get and the way you're able to get success from your team. If you're not, then there must be some problem in what you're communicating. In written communication, actually, there is one trick that many CEOs do. Whenever they write a circular, Some CEOs make the office peon read that and ask him, what do you understand? And if that person says, sir, I didn't understand anything, then they'll rewrite it. They'll keep on rewriting it until the lowest designated person in an organization understands it. And then everybody will understand for sure. Yeah, Mr. Dilish, thanks.
Sir, that is the end of questions.
Yeah, okay. So I can carry on. We'll take a break when we reach 1 hour, which is 3 p.m. So let me just show you another slide. Yeah. BC and AD is what we learned in school versus now BI and AI, which is, yeah, since your audio is muted, I'll have to answer, that is before internet and after internet. Who are we talking to? Most of the time, we are talking to people who are AI, after internet. And who's talking? People like me, who are BI, before internet. The generation that we have in front of us as students are all AI. Never forget that. They have all the information in the world. It is at their fingertips. And they don't want an old world teacher to come and be talking to them. They will wonder why. Why are you just wasting my time? Because earlier, every teacher in the world had that superiority of knowledge. I know everything, and the students in front of me know nothing. And they're here to listen to me. Today, nobody is there to listen to us for the knowledge. Then why are they there in the class? Well, many are opting out of school worldwide. Many feel that school is no more necessary. But that may be just a few, in percentage-wise, they're not still significant enough. But if anybody is in front of us, those youngsters are there not to get information, because that is available for free, virtually for free. But they're there for the interpretation. They want to make sense of that information. And as teachers, if we are not able to do that, then we fail, because plain information is available. And that is why all the online examinations, the challenge is for the teacher to ask questions for which students have to give creative answers that are not on the net, which they cannot find through a search. For example, one question that can be asked at an interview to find out the perception of a student or his or her maturity and her observation skills and ideation is, which college did you go to? And then the student answers something, or the candidate answers something. The next question, which aspect of your college do you think can be changed to make the college better? Now, the answer to that question will tell you a lot about how that student was, that young man, young woman was in college. Was she observant about her surroundings, about her classmates, about the way the college functioned? Is she managerial, leadership oriented person? All of that will be revealed from the answer. There has actually been a case of an engineering student in Kerala who finished PG in engineering and then applied for a teaching job in the same college. When this candidate, this was a lady student, she came for the interview and she was asked, she came for a job of electrical engineering assistant professor. And she was asked, so you've been on our campus for 6 years, BTech and MTech. Where is the transformer on our campus? She didn't know. She had never observed the transformer. An electrical engineer spending 6 years on a campus, not even seeing that there was a transformer on campus, tells you all about that personality. So that's why we should be aware why students are in front of us and what we should be telling them to understand. They need interpretations and they need to know what connects what they're learning to real life. So if that connection is not there, then everything is so boring. Why am I learning this is a question that we hear frequently from classrooms, from students, from our children. Why am I learning this? What is the significance of the Pythagoras theorem? My goodness, I'm learning it from class 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, even now. But why? Tell me why I should learn it. If you're not able to connect that to real life, then it doesn't seem interesting. We're approaching 3 p.m. So let's take a break of 5 minutes, 5, 6 minutes. Thank you.
Dear participants, you can come back at 3:05.
ഇപ്പോൾ ഓഫ് ആണല്ലോ അല്ലേ? So welcome back. We'll start the session with at least one question in the chat box.
Yes, sir. The question is from Varun.
Yes.
The question is, what is it that marks a good leader? Is it patience, tolerance, hard work, or is it stubbornness and authority?
That's a very solid question covering so many aspects. Let me see how I can answer that. I'll go with a very topical example. Leadership actually is a combination of so many aspects. And whatever Dr. Arun mentioned is touching on all these aspects. Consider the case of Mahendra Singh Dhoni this week. He's been known as Mr. Cool, has been perhaps one of India's most successful cricket captains ever. I don't know if it's he or Kohli who's number one, but he's right up there. And acknowledged as a person for all the tight situations. But look at him now. It's the same leader, same person. He hasn't changed. It's just that he's no more in the Indian team. But over the last 2 weeks, it's been just misery, compounded by further misery. Is he authoritative? People are even thinking that he's authoritarian now, not giving the youngsters a chance. Today, social media is full of criticism against him and even telling him, the next year, we don't want you, not even as a mentor or a coach. So all of this can happen to a leader, even with all those skills. When the situation changes, then whether you've done right or wrong, sometimes for no fault of yours. In this case, a lot of people feel for some fault of his also. So a combination of all these factors is what comes into play in real life. And it's very difficult to manage all of that. Let's be honest about that, because there is no textbook formula or theory to be a leader. We are all human beings with multiple characteristics, with multiple skills within communication. Our verbal may be good for some, the written may be good for some, the body language will be very good for some others. All of that, to combine them, thread them together and be convincing and be inspiring, all of that is very tough. I can also draw a parallel to your question is so broad and such a solid one that let me also draw a parallel to parenting. It's also like leadership, like leading a family. Psychiatrists say there are 4 types of parents: the authoritative parents, the authoritarian parents, then there are the permissive parents, and there are neglectful parents. I'll explain each of these. The authoritative parents are like authoritative leaders. They know they have done well in life. They have set a good example for their children, or in a team situation for their followers. And they expect the same from their teammates. For example, if you're playing for Virat Kohli's side and you don't feel well, he's not going to leave you because he knows he feels well and he puts everything into his fielding. He's not just a captain and batsman. He gives everything into every ball that he feels. And he expects that from everybody in the team. And he has a right to expect that because he has the authority and he has a rank to do that. Now, the authoritarian parents are parents who just decide that their rank alone is enough. Like some leaders feel their rank alone is enough to tell you what to do. Like a circle inspector tells a sub-inspector, and it has to be done. No questions asked. What happens to children of those parents who are authoritarian? They become rebellious. And where do they take out their rebellion? Mostly in schools and college, because they can't fight their own parents at home because they're threatened by their parents. They come and break some chairs in school or college or do something else. So that rebellion it has to out somewhere. So when we have an education institution has a problem child, it is mostly to do with communication at home. And then there are the permissive parents who are like friends to their children, who forget a rank completely, which is not advisable. And so after a while, the children also don't consider any rank, and they, over a period of time, they can even lose respect. And finally, there are the neglectful parents. Psychiatric studies show that if you take prisoners in all jails in all countries of the world, 85% of all prisoners are children of neglectful parents. So for leaders also, if you're completely authoritarian, then you'll have a rebelling team. Just like in a family, if you're authoritarian, so leaders can't be so authoritarian. I don't think in Dhoni's case he was authoritarian. He was also authoritative because he has such a track record. He had the authority. He had the right to demand the same level of performance from his teammates. Authoritative, but suddenly things are falling apart. Some bad decisions here and there, but this is a lesson we all need to learn. We can be right up there one day and then nowhere. Go back to India's independence, Subhash Chandra Bose, so inspiring for so many people, makes one bad decision and then the man himself goes missing. So these can happen to the best of leaders, the most inspiring people, but don't take that as the standard. It can happen to anybody anytime. So I hope I have broadly answered your question, which is a very solid question. Yeah, if I have answered that, any more questions?
No, sir.
Yeah. No?
No, sir. So far, no other questions.
Yeah, okay. So I'd like to start the session with, we started the previous session with making communication interesting. I talked about food and people and words and, whatever you talk about animals, everything can be made interesting. Let me just suggest two more areas of how you can give insight to people who are listening to you by making communication interesting. One is, because we are mostly engineering faculty here, one is about architecture. If you consider Chinese architecture versus architecture in the rest of the world, you see a sharp difference. In Chinese architecture, the corners of the roofs seem to be pointing to the earth, almost like they want to hug the earth. Why would that be? Perhaps because it is ingrained in them that in China, people have mostly no religion. So if you're atheists, if there's no God, then you are bound to earth, and the life and times and the end, everything is on earth. So even the architecture is hugging the earth. While you go to Europe, believe in God. So we have the Gothic structures where the architecture is normally pointing upwards towards God. So see the difference. It reflects our understanding of things, reflects even in our architecture, how we design a building. If you believe in God, then it's looking heavenwards, upwards, skywards. If you feel that all our life and times are going to be here only and there's no other world besides this, then even your architecture can be pointing to the earth. There's also geography. We live in Malabar. As the world knows Kerala, it's Malabar for so many centuries. Malabar is actually a Latin term of mala and bar. Bar is land and mala is black. So the Latin, whoever came here, must have taken us, it says black and land. It can be because of the black pepper we were so famous for, or because we were dark-skinned people. So the land of the black, whether it's the black people or black pepper. So all of this will make whatever topic we are touching on interesting for the audience. To come back to the PPT, we are talking about today's youth. We have I'll just be able to move the slide in a moment. Okay. So the difference between AI, which is the after internet children, and the BI, before internet teachers. I know that a lot of young teachers also listening who are also AI. That saves a lot of trouble for them, because when you are AI along with your students, then that's easier to deal. Socializing is now a 24-hour job. Earlier, it was done on weekends. That's a big, big difference. So today's youngsters are always socializing. They're always on their mobiles, and they're always chatting. They're always watching a video, or they're uploading one about themselves, the I, me, myself syndrome. So much so that during COVID times, even movie releases are now not necessarily on Fridays. For decades, movie releases have always been on Friday evenings. Why? Because we work Monday to Friday, and then the weekend comes, and we release it on a Friday because everybody's relaxed. See how things have changed during the Corona times. Monday to Friday is when people are at work, but they're at home. So there's no supervision. And everybody apparently is watching movies on their mobile phones while at work. And they're active on social media while at work, which normally is not possible if they were working in the offices. So lifestyles have changed, that if you're launching a video or a movie, it is ideally better to do that during the weekdays instead of the weekend, because people have entertainment from Monday to Friday along with their work. And Saturday, Sunday, they devote to the family. So it's personal time on Saturday, Sunday, entertainment and work Monday to Friday. We should be aware of these changing landscapes, because just as the audience, their profile is important, we also need to understand what moods they're in. So now everybody's in a relaxed mood from Monday to Friday. They are absolutely free to do what they want because nobody is supervising. So this is how things have changed as a subtext of communication during the COVID time. One second, my next slide is coming up. And the difference between sometime back when we went to internet and now is that earlier we went to internet for facts or information. But today's youth go there for community and creativity. Ask yourself whether you have 3,000 friends or 20,000 friends. Most people who are 17 years will have not less than 7,000 friends. If you have only 300, that means you're a little bit of BI, before internet, because internet is now considered a place for community and creativity. Unlike earlier, where it was meant as a library for information and facts, it is so boring. In fact, the change is so much that today's youth would think about a book like this. They would think a book is basically thousands of tweets printed out and stapled between pieces of cardboard. For people in my age group, a book was a book. But today, a book, I mean, why do you buy a physical book at all is what a 20-year-old would ask me, because you don't need that. They even say that it's harming the environment to be printing books. or newspapers. It should be digital ideally. And for them, everything is a tweet. And today we know that within families, people text each other from one room to the other, which would have been a very novel thing even 5 years back. But today it is become standard practice, even in India, in Kerala, in our homes. As and when questions come, please alert me so that I can answer them as I go along. Before I go into a new Gutenberg Revolution, let me just bring you to more words. And why I'm focusing on words and language and communication is because communication is such a winning tool for today's age. If you can communicate, then you're a success for sure, almost sure. Because if you can be a specialist in some topic, but cannot communicate that, then it's very difficult to go up the rungs. To a level, yes, we can, with our specialization, we will be successful. But to get into a leadership position, for instance, communication is that extra. Best example, APJ Abdul Kalam. Look at his education background, and he's a very average engineer. I believe he had arrears for his engineering in Madurai. I've been to his home a couple of times. What has set him apart besides being an engineer in ISRO? It's all about communication. The way Kalam explained rocket science, even a 4th standard student would understand completely. He would be able to explain in such simple words. I mean, people would think, if only this man had taught me physics, then, you know, I would have become a physicist, engineer, mathematician, all of that. I would have been in the science stream. But my math teacher was so tough. I never understood what he said. So that's how, through communication, he was able to take people along, take so many people along, and finally, all of us, the 1 billion of us along as President of India. Now, there are so many scientists, so many excellent scientists in ISRO, but if there was one difference between all of them and this man, it was this. The ease of his communication, the simplicity of it, the kind of words he used, which anyone could understand, which is why school children loved him, because anything he said, they could understand. Now, that's what we call a winning communication. And a broad-mindedness, taking all kinds of setbacks in stride. All of these together make a leader. Mind you, he knew his onions in rocket science also, because without that, you cannot be in ISRO for a start. But after you're there, then the rise up the hierarchy comes with your communication skills and your leadership skills. So that once you have the base, then you can go higher with this extra, which is the edge, is the communication aspect. Why are teachers, why should teachers be so focused on this aspect? Because, particularly Indian teachers, because we have the largest number of students in our hands. India has 260 million school and college students, 26 crore students who are in some class or the other. That's the largest number of students in any country, more than in China. And 1.5 crores of them will pass out of college every year or reach that age of working. And imagine if they all come out without being able to communicate, which is why companies keep telling us, please do the communication training in your campuses. Don't put that burden on us. If you take a company like Infosys, they are training some 4,000 youth, freshly hired youth at any time in the Mysore campus for about 6 months to 1 year, which puts a huge financial burden on them and time burden on them. They feel that ideally students should have come out of college ready to work, with communication skills also and life skills. But now we are taking on that burden, they say, not just this company, but several other companies, which is why universities are now bringing in these changes into their syllabi. But that's not enough, because if you're looking at outcome-based education, the outcomes are not being good enough, because the same complaints remain what existed even 5 years ago. If you look at a new Gutenberg Revolution, earlier, the Gutenberg Revolution was all about the printing press invented by Johannes Gutenberg. But now there's a new revolution in communication. It's a rise of video, marked mostly by YouTube, and there are so many other platforms. But what should we be knowledgeable about this video? Why should we be knowledgeable? Because a whole new generation has come up who are attuned more to visuals and video rather than to words. So people don't like a text anymore. They would love to see video. They would not like me to give a text in class, write something on the board and ask them to take that down. But they would like me as a teacher to share some video. It's a new generation, it's an AI generation. They are video focused, and YouTube is now known as the biggest highway of communication in the world today. If you don't have your house by that highway, then you probably are not on the main road. You are somewhere interior. So that's how video has risen as the new Gutenberg Revolution. All kinds of the Gutenberg press in the picture and the latest mobile. Then we have the social analytics and sentiment analysis. These are the new areas in communication as well as in technology, of course, backed by technology. Social analytics, we are able to analyze an entire society based on their likes and dislikes, which algorithms are able to pick up. There is this sentiment analysis. People even know what, the algorithms even know what sentiment you have towards something. Look at this week's example of the Tanishq jewelry ad. Extremely bad sentiment across the country, if you go by the trolls on social media. All advertisers want to know whether that was good or bad. Should I advertise that? What is the mood of the people? All of that can come through. Earlier, if I was fuming inside over something, society would never know, advertisers would never know, people who mattered would never know. But now people are, if I'm angered by something, if I'm happy about something, all of that, I respond immediately. Previously, we had the laid back media, because we sat with the newspaper like that. Now, that was the lean back media. Now we have the lean forward media, because I look at my mobile and I lean forward and do this. So it's very different from the lean back times to the lean forward times. And I give my response immediately. So what do these platforms have? They immediately analyze the sentiment and they sell my sentiment to others. They know what exactly I am thinking and you are thinking, and X number of people are thinking about a particular topic. And based on that, advertisers and people who sell various products and services, they're all able to understand every segment of society. And so earlier in school textbooks, we learned that the most populated nations in the world were China, India, the United States, Brazil, Nigeria, Indonesia, Pakistan, and so on. Well, that's changed. In the AI world, that order has changed. The world's most populated nation today is Facebook, followed by China, followed by India, and then the others. If you don't understand this, the largest nation on earth is Facebook. The president is Mark Zuckerberg. And he is able to know on a minute-to-minute, second-to-second basis, social analytics and sentiment analysis of 1/3 of the world you can see how powerful he is. There is something called POTUS, P-O-T-U-S, President of the United States, POTUS. That is been known as the most powerful entity on earth for a long, long time now. Post Second World War, POTUS is the most powerful person. Today, we are not very sure. In the communication era, the man who controls all communication is not POTUS. Even POTUS's communication comes through FB. So who's more powerful? Zuckerberg or somebody who has some other social media platform like that? Is it a Google and YouTube? We're not sure, but they're all very, very powerful. They're more powerful than the old world before internet, BI, countries like China, India, US. There are new nations emerging in the digital world. And that's all, these new nations are all based on communication. Just shows where we are. And if you're not on social media, your classmates may just forget you. You may think that I'm being very groomed in a very conservative fashion, and I don't want to put all my pictures all the time on social media. But in the communication-oriented world of today, there is a likelihood that we may just disappear from the minds of people also if we're not there socializing on social media at least once in a while. Any questions at this point?
Dear participants, you can post your questions in the chat box.
Okay, I'll move on. So if you're not observing these changes, these are drastic changes. If these changes are not being observed, that can ruin our future, whether we are a company, we are an education institution, any organization. This is Jack Welch, famous former CEO of General Electric. He said, when the rate of change outside is more than the rate of change inside, the end is near. I'll repeat that. When the rate of change outside exceeds the rate of change inside, the end is near. For example, if you've been manufacturing cars like a Ford or a General Motors or a Volkswagen, in the last 10 years, the rate of change outside has been more than the rate of change inside, meaning the car has not changed much from the time the internal combustion engine came into being. But in the last 10 years, we are seeing so much change in the automobile sector. We have the electric cars coming. We have the driverless cars coming. And we're seeing many more. And we probably will see drones carrying people. So we may not need cars, but we may just leave them altogether and use drones for transport. We never know what's going to come in even the next 1,000 days, which is 3 years. As whether it is a Ford driving Intel or an Intel driving Ford, because there is so much electronics in a car, is it the electronics part driving that car, or is the car driving the electronics as in the past? In the past, we had a music player, that was the electronics in the car. But today, there's almost the entire car. In an autonomous car, almost everything in it, and if it's an autonomous electric car, almost everything in it is electronic. And the car maker can just be the shell maker. So we wonder whether it's General Motors running on Microsoft running on General Motors, what is more important, the shell or the electronics? The edge is certainly to the electronics part. Today we can summon a driverless car from the east of US to the west of US. It has already been done, absolutely driverless. It refuels itself by itself. and east to west of US is longer than Kanyakumari to Kashmir. So you can imagine the distance these autonomous cars are traveling, causing almost no accidents so far, only 2 major accidents, life causing, taking accidents. So if that rate of change outside is exceeding the rate of change inside, then the end is near. Even for education institutions, we're not having the right courses or not tuned to the right industry needs. That means the rate of change outside is faster than what's happening inside. If that happens, like Jack Welch said, then the end is near. Words are wealth. Actually, you look at politicians and you'll wonder how they make a living. They are making a living just with words. What do they give us? Words, words, and more words. It's more speeches and more speeches. We had so many years ago, Mahatma Gandhi told us, do or die. And then we did that. Then post-independence, we had somebody like an Indira Gandhi saying, Garibi hatao. Let us do away with poverty. We've been trying to do that all along. And now we have our Prime Minister saying Swachh Bharat or Skill India or Make in India or all that. These are all words, 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 and words. So if words can take those people to where they were, where they reached, then words can take us also to those same heights. In fact, the words are the raw material for communication. And this is one area where raw material is free. Normally, you cannot have an industry where raw material is free, but in the communication sector, we can have the raw material for free. The Oxford English Dictionary is free. It's on the web. And we can have all the words. All the words that an Arundhati Roy has, or a Sugata Kumari has, poetess, or a Shashi Tharoor has, you and I also have. Because the dictionary is there for free. But why are they successful in communicating? And why am I not so successful in communicating? Is the only difference is because they use the words in a certain pattern. And that is their skill. So that's the communication skill of using words that you and I know in a different pattern. And that's how an architect distinguishes himself from another one. The way the bricks are laid, the design is different. The bricks are the same, the cement is the same, and most of the tools used in construction are also the same, but one architect separates and distinguishes himself from another by the design, by the pattern that building is constructed. So words are free, but we must know how to use them. There's this Towers-Watson survey which says, effective communication and financial performance are strongly correlated. With better communication, a company will outperform its peers 1.7 times. That's a huge difference. If you are doing the same kind of business and your competitor company is earning 100 rupees, you can be earning as much as 170 rupees, which is 70% higher, just with better communications. That's how important communication is, whether it is in Mahendra Singh Dhoni's team today, or in any corporate, or an education institution, or a little team, a department team. How communication functions is so important to the outcome. The outcome can be so much different, so much better. And we are also in a world where everybody is the boss. Simply because every individual stakeholder has so much power. I have the world at my fingertip, you have the world at your fingertip. So nobody is going to take the old world plain corporate messages. You put up a notice on the notice board, nobody's going to see that. But you make it interesting, people will look at it. The challenge is to make it interesting in a world burdened with messages, and mailboxes are full and spam is hitting us from left and right. So the challenge is, how do you make your communication interesting? If there's any question at this time, I can take it.
Yes, sir, we have another question.
Yes.
The question is, how can we monitor the news appearing in media that
Mhm.
damage national unity, specifically over sensationalization of certain news?
How can we monitor is the question?
Yes, how can we monitor the news appearing in media that
Mhm.
damage national unity?
How can we monitor? I hope this is not a CBI person or somebody asking this question, because as a citizen, I don't understand the need to monitor it. Perhaps she or he is asking what can be done about it. Then I can understand the question. But monitor, yeah, it is being monitored by various intelligence agencies anyway. It's very easy because there are algorithms. If I even type bomb in my Google, or terrorism, or some words like that, immediately intelligence agencies are able to keep a track of me. Um, so in the tech world, it's quite easy to monitor these things. If I search how to make a bomb, definitely the police have an eye on me. I may not know it, but the intelligence wings will know me. Or if I search for some keywords like that, if I search, say, ISIS regularly, if I search, say, North Korea, if I search keywords which can even marginally be connected to terrorism, to anti-national activities. If I'm searching Ladakh day in and day out, why is this guy so interested in Ladakh sitting in Kottayam? So there's a way. Technology enables, in fact, today the problem is not how to monitor. The question is the other way around. How can citizens escape from constant monitoring by the authorities? Because like George Orwell said in 1984, Big Brother, now Big Brother's watching everything. I'm told by my children that so far I knew that my mobile phone is listening to everything I talk. And if I discuss a particular subject, and then the next time I open my mobile phone and then I look for something on social media or wherever, the advertisements that appear are connected to that, which means the mobile has heard everything that I've said. Now I'm told the mobile is also seeing me. That camera is also seeing me all the time. They even know my mood, because from my eyebrows, from the frown I may have on my face, or my happiness, every sentiment of mine is kept track of by my mobile phone. And without my knowledge, it may even be shared to various companies to sell their products to me. If I'm really worried about my complexion, then my information will be shared with so many people who sell some face cream or suntan or beauty cream or something like that. And they're all put ads whenever I am on social media. So monitoring, it's not a citizen's job to do that. On the contrary, there is too much monitoring is the complaint now. Any other question?
Yes, sir. Okay. He's also asking about the
Yeah.
over sensationalization of certain news.
Okay. Well, since I've been a journalist for 35, 36 years now, currently write for the Gulf News in Dubai, um, that question is now being asked. The shoe has changed, meaning earlier there were journalists and they would write stuff and the others would read it. Now what has happened is there are no designated journalists. The whole world, everybody has turned a journalist because of the technology available. You can put out anything. So people are still complaining that media is sensationalizing stuff. It's the other way around. All people are putting out news which are sensational, because in a news organization, there are people to vet whatever you write. It has to go through many hands, and it is fact checked, verified, vetted, and then decided whether to publish or not. And only after that it comes out. While in the new world of AI, after internet, everybody is a publisher. Every person in the world is a journalist, and they're putting out news, and they're all sensational. So it's high time we stop saying media is sensational, because everybody is the media. It's like saying, I have become sensational, right? Like Tanishq advertisement appears, everybody comments on it. And then we say, media is sensational. Who's the media? Everybody. So with no control over the individual who can write whatever on social media, until somebody files a case or something, the whole world is sensational, one must say.
Yes, sir. We have another question from Miss Elena.
Yeah,
The
very good. Yeah.
question is, how can fear in communication be overcome?
Oh, very, very good question. Actually, a lot of people may have this. I'm sure Ms. Yelena's question is representative of many in the audience, right from things like stage fright to even speaking up in class or while talking to somebody. One aspect would be, normally we tend to think that the other person is superior in some way, either in authority, in age, in knowledge, in command over language. So we have a little fear in speaking up. This actually needs our own attention, our acknowledgement, and we need to train ourselves to rise over that. I think the understanding that everybody is like us is the best place to start, because people may appear confident, but they all like us. Now, I'm giving this 2-hour session. Many who are listening to me may think, oh, this guy is talking all the time. He's on YouTube, he's talking, he's lecturing, he's commenting, he's so confident. Actually, I'm not. I'm like anybody else. I have my own apprehensions. The day we understand this, that the audience is just like me, when you stand on stage, you have a fright about the audience, but the audience actually would be looking up to you thinking, hey, this guy is great. You know, I'm only in the audience, he's speaking. So understand that. That's the first step to get over that fear. And also understand that when you feel that the other person is superior, that comes naturally particularly when you come across a student with a teacher or a subordinate with a team leader. That's quite natural to have that fear. But understand that we are all having different skill sets. And in some areas, we are far superior to anybody else in the world. So with that confidence, we should be able to tide over that fear. And if I may add one more special aspect in communication during these times, in the COVID times, is a point that whenever we are speaking, we should lead with empathy. All leaders, all who are in any kind of position, whenever we're talking to people, we must have empathy, because everybody is stressed. Everybody is on a short fuse. People are all ready to crack. So many suicides. We heard some time back from our chief minister that 66 students had committed, 66 children, meaning under 18, had committed suicide in the first 3 months of lockdown. Imagine even one child committing suicide is unbelievable, because children don't commit suicide. But 66 committing suicide is earth-shaking. And then after that, 3 more months have passed. We don't know how many more. So these are very difficult times. So we need to, whenever we're communicating, lower the temperature, make people at ease. Everybody's suffering inside. Jobs lost, salaries cut, families thrown into poverty. People don't know how they'll pay their salary, their rents and power bills and school fees and the bike EMIs and the car EMIs and the house EMIs and all of that. So lower the temperature, speak with empathy. Yeah. Any more?
One more question from Varun. The question is, how can we transform ourselves to the current scenario with respect to internet, world, etc.?
How can we, could you repeat the question? How can we
transform ourselves to the current scenario?
Varun, questioner?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, Mr. Varun, Professor Varun. If you're in the, below 30, below 28, that age group, I would assume you would not even pose this question, because you would be a natural. You're an AI after internet person. But if you're in the age group over that, like me, then certainly we need to take some effort to get attuned to that, because there's no way out. Nobody can say that, I don't like the digital world. I still like the blackboard only, and I write only on the blackboard, and I only like the textbook teaching. Frankly, I wouldn't like to address this session in this virtual mode, but fact of the matter is, this is the only way to reach out to students, to a group, an audience, in these 6, 7, 8 months. We don't know how long it lasts, but so one needs to accept the reality and go forward. So in my age, I can tell you it's very difficult learning all these things one by one, and new things keep popping up. But we need to put an effort into that, and in fact, the character of a teacher should be a learner all life, right? Because we cannot be teaching old things anymore. So just as we refresh ourselves to be relevant in a classroom, we should be refreshing ourselves in the digital world also.
Yes, sir. That is the end of questions.
Okay. So as we near the end, let me just share a few more things with you, and we've got only about 8 minutes. Perhaps you've not heard this, I thought. So let me share this thing with you. We learn A, I, E, U in all the Indian languages, in which we come across Pa, Fa, Ba, Bha, Ma also, right? Ka, Ka, Ga, Kha, Nga. So that first line of those, Pa, Fa, Ba, Bha, Ma, is what I want to share with you. That's called the Pavarga series. I'm telling you this because once you know words, I said, they are like people, they are living things, and you love them if you get close to them. And words are made with alphabets, and these are alphabets. So we are going one step below words and going to the alphabets. So that Pa of that Pavarga is Pa is for Parishrama. It's for hard work. And then there's a Fa, Pa, Fa. Fa is for, it's a Sanskrit word, Fena, meaning in English, foam, F-O-A-M, foam. Because when you do hard work, you foam from the mouth, right? When you do physical activity, there's a little bit of foam coming to our mouth. That's Fa. And then there's Ba, which is Bandhan. We are bonded to earth. Our life is here. We're bonded to earth. And then there's Bha, which is for Bhayam, Bhaya in Sanskrit. Because we are afraid. We are scared of what is to come. Nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know what is life after death. Whether it'll end here, whether we have, as many believe, that there's a soul. We don't know what. So there's a Bhaya. And Ma is for Mrityu, which is death, which is the end of everything. At least as we see ourselves here, that's Ma, Mrityu. So that's Pa, Fa, Ba, Bha, Ma. That's a Pavarga. And knowing God is equal to overcoming Pavarga. I hope that's of some interest to you. And I'll wind up with a quote from a CEO who said, we've been discussing the AI, BI and all that. So in the world of communication and in technology, when they come together, a lot of things happen. The world is changing only because tech has just got married, or in the last 2 decades has got married to communication. Technology and marriages and communication has come together in a relationship, and the world has changed. So what will happen when technology takes over more and more jobs? Even in teaching, we now have the MOOCs, the massive open online courses. So what is the relevance of teachers in the future? All of these questions are being popped up. One thing we can be sure, that what humans do best over technology is motivate and inspire people, which so far no technology has come to motivate me or to inspire me. It may come in future, but as of now, humans do that far better than machines. So rather than competing with machines in what they do better than us, it would be very wise to compete with machines in what we do best. At least we do better than them, which is to motivate and inspire. So one reading is that Tom Peters, the man who wrote Excellence, the book, he says, in the future, the leaders of tomorrow will read a lot of books, meaning we need to get information. We need to get a projection of what is to come. Only that can help us in our leadership skills. And which is why in the 21st century, we need to be guiding our students in the areas of critical thinking, collaboration, and creativity. If we can inspire students in these areas, that would be a great service for our students. It's a great service for the nation. Why are we here? How are we here? Because somebody in our school time, some teacher in our college, some leader in our team inspired us sometime, which is why we've risen to this level, or we wouldn't be here. Somebody was there, an inspiration. We may not be able to pinpoint that somebody, but certainly there has been that somebody who inspired us. It is now our duty to inspire many others. Thank you for your patient listening.
We have come to the end of this session. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our resource person, Sri Joe S. Karia, for this wonderful session. You have really motivated us, sir. We have gone through the different aspects about the importance of communication. We also understood about the inspiration. We really thank you, sir, for your valuable time and presence. Dear participants, the link for feedback is posted in the chat box. I remind you to fill out the form without fail. The link will be open for 1 hour. Once again, thank you, sir, and thank you all the participants. Thank you.
Thank you.